With changes at the federal level, gun shops might have to adopt a new business model.
Stranded in Missouri, workers say they're left out in the cold.
And storm clouds are circling over Mizzou Arena as Coach Frank Haith is under fire. KOMU 8 News at 6 starts now.
KOMU 8 News at 6 starts with breaking news.
We begin with breaking news this evening. CBS Sports is reporting Missouri men's basketball coach Frank Haith could soon face some serious penalties from the NCAA resulting from his time at the University of Miami. Good evening. I'm Emily Spain.
And I'm Joe Chiodo. Thanks for joining us. The news broke around 3 this afternoon. KOMU 8's Chris Trevino joins us in the studio now with the details on this ongoing situation.
Okay, Emily and Joe, thank you. According to a CBSSports.com report, the NCAA will charge Haith with unethical conduct and failure to promote an atmosphere of compliance while head coach at Miami. Haith would have up to 90 days to respond in writing before a hearing with the NCAA Committee on Infractions in June. A decision on penalties would likely come down 4 to 6 months after that, so near the end of this year. Miami booster Nevin Shapiro, a convicted felon, has claimed Haith knew of a payment of $10,000 to Miami recruit Daquan Jones. While the NCAA is unable to prove that, it will apparently charge Haith with unethical conduct because it does not believe Haith's story that payments to his assistants for camp money actually did not go to repay Shapiro. Shapiro's mom says the money was delivered to her. The NCAA will also charge Haith with failure to promote an atmosphere of compliance at Miami due to impermissible airline travel for family members of 2 Miami players and interaction between Shapiro and players on recruiting trips. A week ago, Haith was asked his thoughts on this NCAA investigation apparently drawing to a close.
It was kind of a relief to know that this is coming to an end. And they're part of it in terms of their allegations, if there are any, towards Frank Haith. And then if there are, then we have a chance to defend ourselves. But I am glad that, something like this has been taxing on me and our family and our program. So that is good to know that it is coming closer to the end.
The NCAA notice of allegations against Miami and Frank Haith is expected any day now. More in sports. Back to the news desk.
All right, Chris, thanks a lot. A group of workers from Atlanta, Georgia told us today they've been abandoned in Columbia by a construction company and staffing agency. KOMU 8's Micah Smith joins us in the studio now. Now, Micah, I understand that workers are calling this a scam.
That's right, Joe. They are calling it a scam. And I spoke with several laborers today who said they responded to an ad on Craigslist asking for framing and general labor workers. The ad states that workers could get $1,000 a week. The ad also stated the company would pay for workers' travel, lodging, and food expenses. But after 2 days of work in Columbia and no sign of food or money, the workers say they're duped and have no way back home.
When we found out what was going on, it seemed like everybody put money in their pocket and ran off and abandoned everybody out here. It's 11 of us out here. We don't even have a way back to Atlanta. We don't know where we're going to sleep at. We don't know anything.
I went to the Aspen Heights construction site today to speak with the site manager. He originally agreed to talk to me, but went inside his office and did not come back out. A public relations manager later contacted us with this statement. It says this particular issue is between a subcontractor and its employees. Now that this has been brought to the attention of Aspen Heights, we are working closely with subcontractors to make sure contractual obligations are met.
It's been another cold day here in Missouri, and it's even colder in northern parts of the United States. Take a look at the live Doppler 8 first alert radar. Up around the Great Lakes region, boy, it's snowing up there, and there's some Arctic air that's penetrating all the way down into mid-Missouri. In fact, don't be surprised if outdoors this evening you see a snowflake or two out there. Check our present temperature, 16 in Columbia, 19 in Jefferson City, 23 at Osage Beach. You figure in the wind chill, it's what it feels like to be outdoors. Most areas are in single-digit territory with it feels like about 6 degrees out in Boonville. We'll give you a complete update of the latest forecast coming up for you on KOMU 8 News at 6.
All right. Thank you very much, Dave.
Well, today marks President Barack Obama's second term as America's 44th president.
President Obama's inauguration comes during a period of hyper-partisanism on the Capitol Hill. Among the big issues Obama and Vice President Joe Biden will face in their second term together will be a fight between his federal government and state on his Affordable Care Act, barely improving economy and overall government spending as America's debt is expected to grow another $4 trillion for the next decade. The biggest hot topic heading into today's inauguration was gun control and how to prevent the mass shootings in America. President Obama announced new gun control policies he wants to implement last Wednesday. After Vice President Joe Biden's task force looked into possible solutions, Obama asked Congress to ban assault weapons and magazines that can hold more than 10 rounds of ammunition. He also called for universal background checks. The president also signed an executive order with 23 different measures. They include directing the CDC to research gun violence, nominating a director for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, providing schools and police with active shooter training, and reviewing standards for gun locks and safes. Closer to home, local gun owners told us how the president's proposals could affect their businesses.
KMU8's Garrett Bergquist joins us live from a Columbia gun store to explain the business side of gun laws. Garrett.
Area gun stores like this one say the president's proposals will not have any effect on them, or at most only a little bit. The only possible exception would be a ban on so-called assault weapons. Doug Alley says business has been brisk over the last month. He says a ban on military-style weapons would lead to another sales uptick.
Of course, anytime there's any more restrictive laws that come about, people try and obtain the items that they want prior to any type of enactment of any law.
That's about the only major effect Alley says the president's proposals would have. For example, there is little more he could do to prevent third parties buying guns for criminals.
A straw purchase is a felony offense, so I don't know what more restrictions they could actually put on that.
We check people when they come in. We can tell who's trying to buy the gun. If somebody's buying it for someone else, we won't sell it.
McKenzie says he frequently works with private sellers who want to sell their guns legally. He says he doesn't expect background checks at gun shows to increase the number of people selling through his store. And an assault weapons ban would make little impact on his sales.
Our business doesn't hinge on the tactical weapons or the military-style weapons that he talks about.
Both owners say they support some of the president's ideas. Alley told me he likes the idea of background checks at gun shows, while McKenzie says he supports tougher penalties for straw purchases. Reporting live from Columbia, Garrett Bergquist, KOMU8 News.
Columbia residents gathered today at St. Luke United Methodist Church for Almeda Creighton's Poor Man's Breakfast. The breakfast caters to less fortunate people in the community, but all were welcome. Residents lined up in the church for a plate of free food. Volunteers from all age groups helped prepare meals for more than 30 people. Volunteers say they have worked with Creighton for years to host the event. Creighton says the breakfast is a nice way to remember Dr. Martin Luther King's legacy.
Dr. King was a wonderful person. He took the time out and lost his life trying to help the little guy. And this is our way of helping the smaller people.
The breakfast lasted until noon today. Creighton and volunteers say they are glad they had an opportunity to help the less fortunate in the community. On the same day the nation watched President Barack Obama be sworn in for his second term, they also honored civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In Atlanta, the Ebenezer Baptist Church celebrated its annual commemorative service. It's also where Dr. King preached before his death. King's youngest daughter, Dr. Bernice King, reminded the audience of her father's legacy of peace and nonviolence. There were also tributes to Dr. King's wife, Coretta Scott King. To cap off the celebration, President Obama gave a videotaped greeting.
A not-for-profit group is urging Missouri to start grading individual schools much like the schools students are graded. St. Louis-based the Children's Education Alliance of Missouri is promoting the plan that would give each school around the state a letter grade ranging from A to F. State Director of the Education Alliance, Kate Casas, says even if a district is given full accreditation, individual schools within a district could still be struggling. She also says 12 states have already adopted the scale for individual schools. Sheriffs around Missouri say they need more funding from the state to help cover costs of housing prisoners. Currently, the state pays counties $19.58 a day for food, housing, and help cover some medical care costs for inmates convicted of state crimes. The Joplin Globe reports some sheriffs say they spend more than $30 every day to house and feed the prisoners. According to the Missouri Department of Corrections, there are currently more than 31,000 inmates in state prisons.
Moving on, Missouri Attorney General Chris Koster is planning to create a new task force to help curb urban violence. During his re-election campaign, Koster said he wanted to create a task force to focus on urban crime and reevaluate the annual reports on traffic stops. Koster's office says he hopes the panel will be up and running by late spring. An update from last week's campus shooting in St. Louis. Police say the gun used in the shooting, which resulted in a college official being shot, was stolen in a 2011 burglary in St. Louis County. A St. John resident purchased it at a gun company, but it was stolen when his house was burglarized. The accused shooter, Sean Johnson, allegedly shot the school's financial aid director last Tuesday over an argument of how much money he received before shooting himself. Both men survived the shooting. Well, we all look forward to the golden years when we can kick back and relax.
Sounds pretty good, but nowadays the golden days are being kicked into overdrive. We'll explain later.
And it looks like we've got to get through another pretty chilly day again tomorrow. We'll show you where that cold air is next on KOMU 8 News at 6.